going to tell you a little bit about child vaccinations. Vaccinations are injections that fight diseases. I don't agree with being vaccinated. I don't feel they're necessary, says Mother Corey Organ. Corey Organ is just one of the many parents who are against vaccinating their children.
Bessemer, Alabama, Democrat.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a comment on autism, and I also wanted to say something about that. I am the mother of 2 children with autism who's suffering every single day. They were diagnosed at the age of 2 and 3 years old. At the time that the ethyl mercury was at a higher dosage, and I know that it has caused my kids autism. They started to regress. Again, like I say, and a lot of the doctors, didn't know about autism back then in 1997, and so from my experience, I have to live with them every day suffering. My son also had seizures, which was at the age of 1 year old. No one could tell me what was wrong with him. Just constantly crying, just all the time, just constantly, wouldn't stop. So I know that there's toxic chemicals, not only the marisol that's in these vaccines. There's other toxins that's in these vaccines that's harming our kids, and I think something should be done about it.
Do you believe this statement is true? Why do you feel that way?
Well, the evidence shows that vaccines does not cause autism. In fact, the study that was done in Britain in 1998 that raised that issue has been retracted by the medical journal that published it. And the doctor who conducted the study misrepresented or altered all 12 patients' medical histories. It was a panic. And even though it's not true, that panic is still out there and people are still misunderstanding that that's the case.
I am definitely for it. I can't see any reason to be against it. Everything that kind of came up in maybe 10 or 15 years ago, now they've proven that's really not true. They were worried about autism and ADHD, but they can't find anything to verify that those are cause and effect from immunization.
That is just one reason why some people choose not to vaccinate their children. Another reason is religious beliefs.
So it depends on why they're not vaccinating their children. Sometimes there's really good reasons. Sometimes there's medical conditions that contraindicate getting a vaccine.
But people are still worried about the possible side effects of vaccinations.
What are some negative effects of vaccinating children?
Well, sometimes there's fever, about 20% you can get a fever. You can have some irritation at the injection site.
Vaccinations, there would be rampaging diseases such as polio.
Child polio was very, very rampant, and you were paralyzed, and some people couldn't breathe, and they lived in an iron lung for many years. And we've almost eradicated that in the United States.
As a mother, how do you feel about vaccinating your children?
Well, I vaccinate my own children. I don't have a medical or conscientious objection. I feel that the vaccines are safe and effective. They protect my children as well as the others in the community who may have critical illnesses and may not recover from the diseases that we're vaccinated against.
I guess I can't impress enough on young parents to realize that some of these diseases have really been almost wiped out, and if they're not going to immunize their children, they're really not thinking of anybody but selfishly thinking of just their own family, when worldwide we have a responsibility to do everything we can to keep our children healthy. And they're only able to do that because everybody else has been immunized, and at some point it may come back to bite them.
If some people don't get vaccinated, they can hurt and spread diseases to people that don't get vaccines, and that is how outbreaks can start.
It would be dangerous to stop vaccinating for these things because those diseases are only one plane ride away from having another outbreak. So we need to keep up on those vaccinations because they can re-enter. We can have an epidemic again, even though they're almost gone.
The diseases of the past were almost as scary, and we've been able to keep them in check in this country. But places like Africa and South America and some parts of Asia still have a lot of those diseases that we immunize our children for. And that's why we live in such a nice society, because we're able to keep our babies alive.
For schools, you can sign a conscientious objector or a medical exemption. And I just wanted to tell you, right from the form from the Department of Health, it says no student is required to have an immunization that is contrary to the conscientiously held beliefs of his or her parent or guardian. However, not following vaccine recommendations may endanger the health or life of the student or others they come in contact with. In a disease outbreak, schools may exclude children who are not vaccinated in order to protect them and others. So to receive an exemption, a parent or legal guardian must complete and sign the statement and have it notarized. So if you choose not to vaccinate, you might end up not getting to come to school for 3 weeks if there's an outbreak, and you may end up hurting a vulnerable child and giving them an infection they will not recover from. So when you do send that conscientious objection, you need to think about those things.
We all have to be on board, because if people don't get immunized, that small group of people have the potential of getting the disease, and they'll be the first they affected, but they also will have cause and effect for everybody else.
Our group thinks that vaccinations are absolutely necessary. Even if you have to go through a little pain, it's worth it to stop diseases from spreading.